Hi you guys, and Happy New Year. It's Amanda with Healthy House on the Block, and I'm here with my final year kind of review and recap of all of the resources that you can take advantage of that I shared this year. And I have it kind of broken down into some sections. So we're going to go through each of those today in this video and just kind of refresh ourselves on what we can do to create a healthier home, and how we can cut the overwhelm of that feeling of having to do everything at once. I'm going to share some of my favorite blog posts that I've done this year that kind of put you in the right direction. I think the first step we always want to remember is removing toxins and removing what we can and not stressing about what is permanent in our homes or what we really cannot control. The second thing is to bring in healthy products, healthy materials, all kinds of really natural things. Cut out the man-made really is the trick. And then third is to create healthy habits. And this might mean opening windows, it might mean running fans. A lot of these habits are very doable, and so we're gonna go through all of the things that I've shared this year in a little bit more in depth. If you are looking for links to any of the posts that I reference or any of the ideas that I'm talking about here or any of the toxins that I'm referencing, I have my blog post for my year-end resources linked in this video. If you just scroll to the bottom of the description, you can find it, and then you can get links to everything that you're looking for. So let's get started on our slides, and we will walk through some of the top things that you can do maybe in this next coming year to create a healthier house. All right, so let's take a look at my year-end resources. I think you can use these to make 2021 your healthiest year yet, because I know that 2020 was a year that I will never forget. It's been a year that has completely changed the way my family and I live just on a daily basis. It's been a year that has had a lot of learning, a lot of growing as we figure out how to do more things from home. We also learned how to spend a lot more time together than we ever have before. And it's also been a year where we continued to work on our healthy home and improving our natural habits. And while I kind of think that being at home more and having to adjust our day-to-day routines was a really difficult challenge, it definitely had a positive change. I think that change comes when we face challenges, which is what 2020 certainly brought me, I'm sure you, but I'm okay with that. And as we often start to get kind of comfortable, it leads to unhealthy habits being formed. But this year was completely different. This year we had the opportunity to start over at a lot of things and completely restructure our home life to revolve around what was really important to us. So to end our 2020 journey and kick off a bright new year ahead of us in 2021, I wanted to take kind of a glance back at some of the best resources that we had on the blog this year. So the first thing that I'm going to share with you is one of my favorite things that I started this year. It's a toxin deep dive series, and it really gets into some of the biggest and most prevalent toxins present in your home. Obviously, these toxins are ones that we want to avoid when we're trying to create a natural environment at home. We're trying to create natural living habits and a healthy house. But I was actually really surprised to find out new things about these toxins and learn more about where they are and how they affect my body. So all of the posts that I'm going to share are linked in my blog post this week. So if you go to the blog post, you can read like the full everything that you need to about each of these toxins. So we talked about phthalates and PVC toxins and how they disrupt our endocrine system, which means they're disrupting our hormone production. We found that they impact the neurodevelopment, especially in children. It also is affected in adults, but I think the bigger thing is kids, because PVC toxins, phthalates, they're mostly in plastics, and kids are dealing with a lot of plastic in their lives. So that's why they're toxic to children. It's found in many plastics we eat off of, plastic toys, anything in your house that is a plastic product probably has phthalates and PVC toxins in them. We talked about how they are linked to the disruption of natural hormone production, which what it does is it can in turn cause issues with like the thyroid. Our hormone production affects our reproductive process. Our hormone production affects our immune system. So there's a lot that goes on. I also shared with you an in-depth study that talks about the impacts on children, including like lowered IQ, problems with attention, hyperactivity, and even like poor social communication. We also talked about flame retardants this year. Flame retardants, again, are an endocrine and thyroid disruptor. Flame retardants are also being found just in our bodies all the time. Like we can't get rid of them because we're coming into contact with them so much. We found that they suppress the immune system. They studied this in animals and showed weakened immune systems. And so they correlated that very closely with how humans process this toxin. And then I also shared that it's a carcinogen, which means that it has been linked to cancer, specifically thyroid cancer, which is actually the fastest increasing cancer in the U.S. It has been linked to reproductive toxicity in both men and women. It showed that there is a reduced likelihood in live birth and conceptions when people were tested for this toxin in their blood and in their urine. It lowered sperm count, and it decreased the reproductive hormones. So just all around not healthy. And then another study that I shared in the flame retardant blog post was about kids and how exposure is found to increase likelihood in aggression, bullying, defiance, inability to problem solve, and it was actually linked to higher levels of flame retardants in their home. And so this one was a specific study about it in your home, which I thought was very interesting. And then the last piece of this is reduced neurological function. They have a possible link that they think connecting it to autism in children. This is usually found in upholstery, baby products, baby carriers, baby high chairs, strollers, you name it, furniture, mattresses, it's all over our homes. And then another toxin that we talked about was bisphenol A. So BPA, BPS, BPB, all of the bisphenols that are replacing BPA disrupts our endocrine system. It actually increases the risk of gestational diabetes. It alters hormone production in the brain. It's toxic to the reproductive system and reduces the amount of testosterone produced in males. And they studied this in both humans and in aquatic life. It promotes certain types of breast cancers because it is toxic to the reproductive system. It has been linked to metabolic disorders. It's linked to an increased risk of obesity. It mimics estrogenic activity, and so this is why we see all these problems. It's in a lot of plastics. Even if they say BPA free, they probably have another bisphenol in them. And then it's in a lot of can linings, receipt paper. I have a pretty extensive list on my website, this blog post that links everything there. So then the other thing we talked about this year was getting started with some really healthy habits. So if you're stuck or you're having a hard time getting past something, these are posts that include really tangible items to move you forward on your healthy journey. We talked about simple living habits, so paring things down, creating a really doable routine for you and your family so that you're not overwhelmed and you don't fall back into bad habits. We talked about adding plants to your indoor spaces and what plants should be in what rooms. I even went through, if you rent a space, how you can detox it and how you can change things even if you're in a rented housing unit. And then one of my favorite posts was raising healthy kids in a healthy home and why this matters and getting them involved and making them part of your healthy space. And then another favorite of mine was how to detox each individual space in your house. And you can download my detox book for that. It has a workbook. You can bring it through each room of your house and get started really easily. One of the big ways to detox your space is to fill it with products that are healthy. And so we talked a lot about like non-toxic paint, light bulbs that don't emit EMF exposure or frequencies. Toxin-free cutting boards was another one that people were really excited to see. Non-toxic couches that are affordable. That was a big post. And so each of these, you can go to my blog and find the exact links if you want more information on each one. Toxin-free area rugs and pads. And then we talked about some projects that you can plan for in 2021. They mostly had to do with flooring. So we did non-toxic carpet and then non-toxic laminate flooring, but they're really good options if you're looking to do some flooring in your house. And then here are some additions that you can make to your healthy house this year. So salt lamps, house plants, and essential oils. I have all of these linked on the blog post that I'm referencing here. And then we talked about ways to shop. So using the Think Dirty app, this is my number one tip. Use the Environmental Working Groups database. That's another great resource that you have at your fingertips. And then Target has a new search feature that you can use as well. And then how do we clean up your space for the next year? We talk a lot about cleaning products, and I have some very specific cleaning products and help that you can really utilize and try to use in your own house. So one is how and why to declutter your space. January is like notorious for this, right? We clean out our house. Visit this post and you'll kind of get an idea of a really good way to do it. Using a concentrated cleaner to pare things down in your house and using one that is not going to introduce toxins to your house. And then 2, like natural disinfectants. I think we're at a time in our lives where we want to try and disinfect sometimes, right? Not all the time. We don't want to over disinfect, but using a natural disinfectant is going to be your best option. And I share how you can make your own, some really good natural disinfectants that you can buy and ones you should watch out for. You can swap baking soda out for toxic cleaners. You can make your own hand soap to avoid other toxins. And so those are the big posts for this year. So I hope you guys came away with some really tangible things that you can do in your own home. I hope that you understand a little bit more about why we want to remove these toxins from our house in the first place. And I hope that you are ready to take a step or two forward. If you have any questions at all, if you need help moving forward, if you need help making a plan, please contact me. You can go to my website, which I have linked in the description below, and you can find my email address there or my contact page. Otherwise, if you want to reach out on a social media channel, I am more than happy to answer any questions that you might have, help you move forward, and help you create the healthiest house you can this year. I hope you guys have a wonderful end to your 2020, and I hope that 2021 starts off on a healthy note.